Good afternoon. So coming up on today's Q&A session, I've got a few questions that have been sent in advance. So we've got one about kind of progressions of Romanian deadlift. Should we continue on that, or should we step it to a conventional deadlift, and is that a progression? And so we'll have a discussion about that. Someone wants to know if lifting straps are effective due to grip strength following a wrist fracture. So again, we'll talk about lifting straps and when they can be utilised. And then off the back of that they'll probably leave a few questions on, actually, if I want to improve my grip strength, what can I do to do that? So we'll have a few questions on that too. And then I'd like to answer any questions that you might have live. So if you're watching this and you are new to these Q&A sessions, my name's Chris. I'm a physiotherapist, and I'm here to try and help you get started with strength training, or to help you progress if you've hit a sort of sticking point. So please take this opportunity, ask me any questions that you might have. There are no stupid questions. If you're thinking it, there's other people that will benefit from hearing an answer too. So do use the chat feature if you're watching YouTube live. If you're watching on Facebook live, then you can use the comments. And you may well be watching this as a replay after this is finished. So still leave your questions. I do come back and check, and I'll answer that in a future week's Q&A. The only thing I ask of you, if you find any value of this, is if you could just take a second to click the thumbs up button underneath the video. And if you're not already subscribed to Never Taught to Lift on YouTube, just take a second. There should be a subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner of the video, and you'll make sure you won't miss out on any future weeks. Good, so let's hide that there. So for the moment, the first question that I had come in was via email. So that is another option, is if you don't feel comfortable leaving your questions on Facebook or YouTube, then feel free to send me the questions via email. So it's chris@nevertooldtolift.com. So it's chris@nevertooldtolift.com. And then again, like this person, I can keep it anonymous and I'll answer any questions from there. So this is a question that came in from someone that has been working through the program that they've created by using the Never Taught to Lift ebook, which is just one way of getting started with the program. So their question is, hi Chris, won't make the live. My question is, can I just keep doing RDLs, so that's Romanian deadlifts, or do I need to progress to deadlifts? I'm 67, 140 pounds and lifting 50 kilograms for 3 sets of 6 reps. Many thanks. So for anyone who doesn't know, first, Romanian deadlift is a version of a hip hinge exercise. So hip hinge is one of the big functional movement patterns that I recommend that people try and include in their programs. And Romanian deadlifts is one of those. So Romanian deadlifts, you start in an upright position, holding the bar or dumbbells, and then you hinge at the hips, keeping the back relatively straight and keeping a little bit of bend in the knees, but not too much bend from the knees. And then you straighten back up again. So you start straight, bend, finish straight. That's a Romanian deadlift. A conventional deadlift is the bar starts from the floor, and then you start in kind of more in the hinge position to begin with, then you pick the bar up, straighten up, and then come back down, and the bar finishes on the floor. Because you're going right down to the floor, you're going through a deeper range of motion than you are with a Romanian deadlift, where your hands don't really go much beyond the level of the knees with a Romanian deadlift. So they are separate exercises, but there could be an argument that a conventional deadlift is a form of progression to a Romanian deadlift because you're having to go through a deeper range of motion. So I tend to start people on Romanian deadlifts first and then progress on to deadlifts, which is why she's kind of had the question in there. Because in the ebook, for anyone who hasn't seen it, for each of the 7 functional movement patterns, with hip hinge being one of them, I give 3 variations that you could pick from depending on your ability level and any restrictions or conditions you might be suffering with. So Romanian deadlift is one of them, deadlift is another one, and bridge is another one. But there are several more out there, like hip thrusters, and you can do single leg variations and a lot more. So when it comes to this question here, It looks like they've been doing Romanian deadlifts. And the other thing with the program I work on is getting people to get confident doing the exercise and then starting to get used to the idea of pushing to muscle fatigue at 15 repetitions. And then over this course of a minimum of 12 weeks, but it could be longer, they can get to a point where they get down to 5 repetitions where they're reaching muscle fatigue. So if this person is now at 3 sets of 6 repetitions, and just to say they're doing fantastic, because 50 kilograms when you weigh 140 pounds, so I had a little look, what was it? It's 140 pounds is 63.5 kilograms. They're very close to being able to lift their own body weight, which is something, given enough time and you're kind of working progressively on trying to build strength, I think that's an aspiration that most people can achieve at some point, as long as they're not trying to rush it, is to be able to lift their body weight from the floor or even squat with their body weight. So they're doing fantastic to get to this stage. If they're already doing 3 sets of 6, it implies that they've been doing the Romanian deadlift for a couple of months now, if not longer, and they're very close to getting to the point where they're doing 5 repetitions. So if you are watching this, what I would say is I would actually suggest working for another few weeks, month or so, on keeping to the Romanian deadlift and trying to get that from 50 kilograms and up the weight slightly and try and get to a point where 5 repetitions is the max you can do. And then have a couple of weeks working at that rate where 5 is the max you can do, and you can even nudge the weight up a little bit more to challenge yourself a little bit there. And then assuming that most of your other exercises within your program, you've got to a point where you're very close to 5 repetition maxes. And then you have a couple of weeks with that. And then what I normally do with my clients in the gym or in the clinic is once they've reached a point where they've done 5 repetition max for a few weeks, is then rather than just continue with that now for the foreseeable future, is mix things up. So I then create a new program with them. So we go back through the 7 functional movement patterns. We might pick different variations, or we might bring in a single leg variation, or you might have a few other isolated sort of bicep curl type thing, so other kind of exercises you want to bring in. So you create another program and you start back at 15 repetitions, and then you work for another 12 weeks, 16 weeks at trying to get those exercises from 15 to 5 repetitions, trying to get the fatigue point gradually reducing down to the 5 repetitions. And at that point, when you get to there for a few weeks, then mix it up again. And so I normally work on a quarterly basis within a clinic, so that you'll keep mixing things up. So you've got long enough for each program to consistently do it, to see the strength benefits come. But then you get to mix it up 3 to 4 times a year, so that you're not stagnating and getting bored with that routine, and then find that because of the boredom's there, you end up giving up with it. So yeah, hopefully I've got that all right. You have been working on Romanian deadlifts for a while, but I would say keep them up for another 3 weeks, and then when you come to create your program again, that's where you can say, right, let's try deadlift now. Go back to working at 15 repetitions, and then over the course of 12 to 16 weeks is get that to 5 reps. Because the problem is, if you change it now where you're at 50 kilograms, because it's a different exercise, although very similar, because it is different, and you do it with 50 kilograms when you haven't practiced a full deadlift yet, it might be that as you go into the deeper range of motion, you cause a reaction and you get twinge in your back, and then it stops you from all the progress and all the exercise you have been. So hopefully that's helped. If you are watching and happy to comment live, feel free to do that. If not, send me an email with your reaction to that, and if there's any other questions that you might have. It appears I've frozen on my screen, so hopefully it is still working for you. If anyone's watching live, can you let me know if I'm still moving or whether I've frozen on your screen? If not, I might have to do a quick reboot. I'll carry on for now. So, next question I had come in was, yeah, I'm frozen. What I'll do, I'll log off and come back on again. occasionally it doesn't then work on Facebook. So if you're watching on Facebook now, it might be worth heading over to YouTube and then catching me as I come back on, because I know it does continuously stay on there. So I'll be back in 2 minutes.